Hey everybody, Rich Reality here with another 2v2 analysis, and this time we're here with Albino Dino. So we're gonna go ahead and get things started here, playing with Lemon Drop. Solo keyed into it, so communication is gonna be limited, and as you can see here, there's, well that's not why, but ultimately it's his teammate who kind of just messes this up. A bit of hesitation on his end, and he just doesn't get to the ball in time, so nothing Dino can really do there. And again, that's another mistake from your teammates. If he's going to be cheating up, he has to do it all the way 100%. He just hesitated a little bit, but ultimately I really don't advise cheating up in twos, unless you're communicating with someone who you know can consistently kill the ball in the middle to where you need it. So this is a decent return. The only thing is you're not turning enough to play the ball, part of the ball that you should be playing. So you make your turn, but you stop just a little bit too early. You just want to cut in a little bit more. Want to make sure that you're able to cut the angle at least towards the net. If you play it right here by dodging into it too late, you're playing it right to the defenders. If you play it too early from the right side of the ball over to the left, then at worst you should be able to hit your teammates. So you want to think ahead at all times, and that should be incorporated into your play. Where is your teammates, where are the defenders, and what part of the ball do I need to make contact with to make sure that I'm getting that ball where I need to. So I really like this challenge here. Without dodging into it, they're playing it off the front, so you can play this bounce really well. The only issue is you still have too much forward momentum when you go up, and you kind of have to throw yourself back. Ultimately, I would really just trust your 2-spot in that sort of play. You get a great center. There's a very little chance that you'd be able to follow that up unless you slowed down more beforehand. So trust the rotation, because if your teammate went up, that would have been pretty deadly. And this trap here is a little off. You generally have the right idea. Again, it's kind of just making sure you're making contact with the part of the ball that you're looking to. You hit too much on the side and it's going to cut it back, so you want to just make sure that you're trapping that right against the center part of your car to keep it moving forward. So this is a decent attempt. One thing I want to point out, if you're going to slow play it like this, you need to be thinking about things completely beforehand, and you should in general, but what I mean is you really need to be mapping out how you're going to play your second touch, and that'll change based off of how Choopy is challenging this. But either way, you make your first touch, and when you're boosting into it a little too much, so if you're going to be boosting into this first touch and sending it that far away from you towards Choopy, you need to make sure that you're immediately getting up to follow it. So even that little bit of hesitation that you have there is going to cause you to ultimately lose in the challenge. So you have the advantage of knowing how you're going to play this. So map it out and follow through and just execute it all immediately. So usually you might want to touch this initially maybe a little bit softer, but you know, if you are going to tap it up like that, which is great, you need to be jumping almost immediately up as you go from there. And you basically do. It's just one of those things you might want to improve on. It's just to make sure that you're making the touch and then getting up from it immediately to beat out that defender. This is pretty dangerous. Luckily, you're not going to get challenged immediately or punished immediately from that, but you don't want to be running this close to your teammates. And even though it does look like he's sort of messing up there, Choopy is facing away and isn't challenging. You're better off just letting Lemon Drop play it and getting ready to play the pass. Even though Lemon Drop gets that, especially just knowing that you're solo queuing, you know, give your teammate that space, present yourself open for a pass, and play it from there, because it's harder for you both to work back and forth if you're sort of just cutting into him from behind. So make sure that you're giving your teammate space and that you're just keeping yourself active in the play with them as part of it, as opposed to just saying, oh, you have a weak hit, I'm just going to take this, because ultimately that's just going to hurt you. And the major reason that you're getting scored on here is that you're positioning your ball on the wrong side of the car. So if you're going to turn back here, you need to be immediately getting to the left side of the ball, because you want to be between the ball and your net. Because you're keeping the ball on this side and giving yourself this much room, you're allowing any sort of awkward challenge or 50-50 to just force the ball on your nets. Because there's nothing you can do from that point. So you want to play it from the other side, and if you do play it from that side, you need to just make sure that you're cutting it over quicker. I definitely would have just got to that side that you did, but just immediately did a side pass over to your teammates, instead of trying to solo play it for that long. Always think about how you can be incorporating your teammates into these things. It's a great clear. Unfortunate from Lemon, but it's a great pass out. It's a nice shot in behind. Okay, so you're playing this alright, distancing yourself out. You don't know how this 50-50 situation might go, so I definitely understand why you're playing this far back, and I would advise it, so good job with that. You want to make sure that you're able to get to this in time. Choopy is laying off so you could get to it. I know that's ultimately a mechanical mistake, but to help yourself avoid these sort of mistakes, try to make sure that you're just tilting straight back as part of your initial jump. That way you can get your car tilted up immediately as you're jumping. That way when you go to do your second jump, which I kind of imagine you're trying to do, but that way you're less likely to be accidentally side flipping or back flipping, because you've already tilted your car where you need to, so that when you do your second jump, it's a lot more consistent for you to not be pushing your analog stick in any certain direction, because you've already angled your car the way you need to. This is a little rough here. It seems you're playing ultimately reactionary, and there's some confusion between what Lemon Drop is doing. Honestly, I might try to make sure that you're getting to the left side of that ball again. You see a lot of times when people are dribbling, this is what messes them up, is that they make a touch basically right like this, where it's just the initial front part of your car touching it, and because it's direct forward momentum on the ball, it's just pushing it too far away from you, and then it rolls up the wall and you're not ready for it. So after this touch, try to just make sure that you're still playing to the left of it, so you can keep it in line with the goal there. And if you are going to jump off here, make sure that you're just touching into the ball a little bit first. So another one of those instances where you really need to be thinking that through, at least if you aren't 100% kind of naturally comfortable with it. But as far as learning and mastering any sort of those techniques, just make sure that you're thinking it all the way through and really understanding those times that you are messing it up and why you are. This, I mean, you're definitely right to go for this, but you're jumping up a little bit too early here. So he sends the ball out, and Baruka isn't up for it. Choopy is farther back, so you're ultimately just worried about Baruka there. And so you can drive up a little bit closer and get to it still before Baruka is. But because you're getting up that early, you're getting way too far above the ball. So again, try to think about where on the ball you want to make contact with to produce the play and angle that you're looking for. And ultimately, you just want to make sure that you're playing under the ball. So the longer that you're waiting there to get up, the easier you'll find it to be to make contact with the lower side of the ball to produce some height on your shot. Because it doesn't matter if you make aerial contact with it if you're just kind of smacking the ball back down to the ground. At least you're keeping it away from them there. It's a decent touch there. Either way, you kept control and got it to keep moving forward, so good job. sure what happened there, but whatever. Waiting for Chupi's touch here. This really just seems like you're a little bit unprepared or unfamiliar with this. But he's shooting that ball from pretty far up, so when that ball bounces down, it's going to go basically directly back up, and that's something you need to be anticipating. You especially like as a improving player, like someone really looking to consistently improve and get up there, if you want to get to those high ranks, you need to be able to aptly read these touches and bounces from the ball. So because he's sending it that far straight down, you should be recognizing that you need to get a little bit more height on this. So you gotta jump up a little bit earlier. Since you were pretty decently late there, you're not getting any sort of height or touch that you're looking for. Good patience on this, good job not being baited up too far. Luckily you weren't punished for the double commitment. That was a little close, but you got it, so I have to say nice shot. It's good to be following around here. That back touch is kind of, it's kind of risky. Like, if you're super comfortable, it'll work, but it'll be a lot easier to control this if you just roll a little bit more, just to the side. That way you can angle it off the hood of your car. Because trying to turn it, like angle it in like that will be a lot harder than just using your air roll to get your car angled around, just to play those angles off of your hood. And this is the end of the game, so it's not like it would be common for you to hit this, like get it all the way in the net. But when you're making a touch like this in a situation where you want to be following it up again, you have to think about your recovery. So if you can make this touch and produce height to follow it up without dodging, then you really need to be. So this gets down to you, and you could have just played that off of the hood of your car just by driving into it. But because you're dodging, you're throwing your car all the way at the wall, and you're not able to get back far out enough to follow it. So just in general, whenever you are playing those wall touches, really see if you can get it just by driving into it, or even doing a single jump. But when you're dodging like that, you're really throwing your car away, so that's something else you want to be aware of. Either way, thanks for sending this in, Dino. I appreciate it. Hopefully you got something out of this. Leave a like, anyone, if this helped you out at all. Join the Discord, the info's down below. Shoot me a replay if you want to go over it. And stop by on stream. I can always run over these on stream for you. So, alright, I will see you guys around.